Hello and welcome to the weekend wrap-up. I'm Rebecca Brown. We begin with the ongoing investigation into a deadly mass shooting at a Conway park. It's a story we've been following since it's happened, and today we look back at what we've learned and how the surrounding areas are reacting to the tragedy.
On Sunday evening at approximately 7:45 p.m., officers responded to reports of shots fired at Fifth Avenue Park here in our city.
Tuesday morning at City Hall, Conway Police Chief Chris Harris laid out what law enforcement knows about the shooting. The statistics are shocking. At least 6 weapons used, over 100 rounds fired, 9 people injured, with 2 dead.
2 were pronounced deceased at the scene. Tatiana Penister, age 24, from England, Arkansas, and Demetrius Feimster II, age 23, out of Little Rock.
Mayor Bart Castleberry spoke too, making it clear that the party that led to the shooting was put on by an out-of-town organizer who did not have a permit to hold such a party. The revelation leading to questions for Harris on why the party wasn't shut down.
I understand members of the community have questions, especially about Sunday, on why, how this was allowed to happen, and I've explained that we did not find out till Sunday afternoon.
Harris says that didn't leave them enough time to talk to every person at the party and figure out if anyone had a permit or if it was even an event that needed one. Things were much quieter at the park Tuesday morning. The only people there, families of the 2 victims who set up memorials for them. Demetrius Feimster's girlfriend was there Sunday night.
I ran and ducked behind the car, and my homegirl, she looked at me and she was like, "We okay?" And as soon as she said that, I just peeped around the car, and he was just laying on the ground.
Both his girlfriend and little sister telling me this doesn't feel real, and they're not sure if it ever will. Other family members telling me he was a class clown, the life of the party, and a former football standout at Little Rock Parkview. But above all,
he was not a selfish person at all. He loved his family down. He would do anything for them. Anytime you called, he was gonna come. Anything you needed, he was gonna make a way.
He always picked up the phone, no matter what it was. If he was 3 hours away, you called him, he was coming. He always made sure everybody was okay.
All I can say, it was a good time until everything switched in the blink of an eye.
Gunfire bringing an abrupt end to a party at Conway's Fifth Avenue Park. 2 were killed Sunday and 9 others were injured. Lakeisha Braggs is a pastor at Awareness Church, Inc. Her son was there Sunday when more than 100 rounds were fired.
Me seeing my son and all his friends distraught, and I have a ministry, of course, it kind of pricked my heart like, oh, if y'all can party together, y'all need to pray together.
Her son Cartier agreed with his mom to have a prayer vigil for the community. They hope through time and prayer, healing will come.
I pray to God that it brings healing from prayer, but I know this is going to take way more time than anything. Everybody, it's a lot of friends that I have that are mentally unstable and unsure because of that situation.
24-year-old Tatiana Penister of England and 23-year-old Demetrius Feimster of Little Rock died Sunday. Chase Stone was next to Feimster as he got shot.
And see my teammate now on the ground. He's not getting up. It's people on the ground. It's people screaming. It's people crying. It's people holding their arms. Like, you would have thought like you was in Vietnam or something, or in a war.
Chase told me that this is not the first shooting that he's been a part of. He was at the Park Plaza Mall this past Black Friday when shooting sent shoppers into hiding.
A situation could be solved through words, and just put the guns down is worthless.
And in the wake of the shooting, Cartier reflects on 2 lives lost and countless others changed forever.
They didn't deserve it. Gone too soon, still a lot of life to live.
Pine Bluff officials took to social media sharing news of new park restrictions during the summer, leaving members of the community with questions.
Where are the children going? Where do we get the recreation from?
Bernard Bivens has been an advocate and member of the Pine Bluff community for his entire life. He's watched things come and go at sites like Townsend Park.
The swimming pool, like I said, was right where that area is right there. They filled the swimming pool up. They were having those splash parties at night, and they maybe thought they were getting out of hand.
But that was 40 years ago. Fast forward to now, and he says those same restrictions are happening again.
And the way we're addressing it the same way. It's not, we're not being creative.
On Tuesday, Pine Bluff Police shared this statement on social media. Quote, in response to recent threats of violence online, limited access to all city parks will be put in place until further notice.
We have business hours where our parks open at 7 and be closing by 8 p.m. in the evening.
Pine Bluff Parks and Recreation Assistant Director Terrence Mitchner says they are not closing the parks entirely, but just putting limitations in place that will keep the community safe, providing a proactive response rather than reactive.
We've had some issues in the past, off and on, but as the time changed, and even what recently happened in Conway, it kind of makes us more aware of where we're at and what we're doing.
That means keeping a close eye on all activity and implementing a zero-tolerance policy, prohibiting large unauthorized gatherings, oversized crowds, and events not in compliance with Parks and Recreation policies.
That's our highest priority right now, making sure they can come out, have fun at a clean and safe environment.
Members of the community like Bivens says these policies may not limit violence, but just move it elsewhere.
I just believe in giving someone an alternative, something to do. And taking away things, it's asking for more trouble, really.
Again, no arrests have been made at this time. If you know anything about last Sunday's shooting, you're urged to call Conway Police.
But I think there's another Latin phrase to describe this legislative session. Arkansas state motto, regnat populus, the people rule. For too long, our government has been enslaved to powerful special interests. Not anymore. We do not work for them. We work for the people of Arkansas. In this session, we delivered.
That's Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders celebrating the end of what she calls a successful legislative session. The end of 95th General Assembly was marked by a highly debated bill becoming law and a request to change Arkansas' SNAP program. Here's a recap. Pharmacy benefit managers are the middlemen between insurance companies, drug makers, and pharmacies, deciding what meds are covered and how much you pay. But some alleged PBMs have gained too much control by owning both pharmacies and the licenses to operate them.
Pharmacy benefit managers have gotten away with this for far too long, and it's about time that Arkansas leads the nation in putting these bad actors to rest and passing House Bill 1150.
That bill is now law, signed by Governor Sanders on Wednesday after lawmakers like Representative Jeremiah Moore pushed for the change. So, who is the bill targeting? Well, the three biggest PBMs are CVS Caremark, Optimum RX, and Express Scripts.
The largest companies on earth, money more than some nations, are targeting the sickest patients in this country, sickest patients in this state, and they're steering those patients into their channels against their will.
THV 11 heard from white coats on both ends sharing their take on the new law.
I don't understand why someone could pass this and again put me out of my job, my colleagues out of jobs.
And if you're thinking, I have CVS, what does this mean for me? You're not the only one. In a statement, CVS says because of the bill, they will close 23 community pharmacies, fire more than 500 local healthcare workers, erode access to specialized pharmacy care for 10,000 patients with serious conditions, and increase Arkansas health benefits by millions of dollars each year. The new law, which forces PBMs to choose between holding a pharmacy license or owning a pharmacy, takes effect January 1st, 2026. Using SNAP to purchase junk food has been a hot topic on Capitol Hill for months, and now the debate is heating up in Arkansas.
This is a first step in what I hope will be a broader conversation about the food stamp program.
Arkansas is set to become one of the first states to ask the federal government for permission to ban junk food from SNAP purchases. 1/3 of our state has diabetes or is pre-diabetic. When the numbers are that high, it's important for us to examine a system that actively encourages and subsidizes unhealthy, highly processed, addictive products. To kick things off, the governor announced submitting a waiver to the USDA aimed at encouraging healthier eating habits among families. We plan to use SNAP dollars to expand nutrition education in our schools, and we will look to make additional changes to the program in the future. In our waiver, we are also requesting to add rotisserie chicken, an affordable, healthy protein source, to the list of approved SNAP items. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins joined the governor for the announcement.
The largest spend of that $100 billion for those who are on these programs is not on fruit or vegetables or protein or rotisserie chicken or whole milk. It's on soda.
She's leading the national effort and holds the authority to approve the 5-year waiver.
We at USDA are committed to funding health, not illness, to satisfying hunger with nutritious food produced and harvested by our incredible farmers and ranchers here in America, but not unhealthy food products that fuel chronic disease.
You can learn more about the SNAP request as well as the other bills that were signed into law during the session right now on THV11.com. Noticeably missing from that list of new laws, a bill clearing new money to build a Franklin County prison. Instead, the state is moving forward, spending money set aside in the last couple of years. And some of that money will go to a design professional. The State Board of Corrections chose HDR and Conway Architects Engineers, a Springdale-based firm, for the project. State Senator Bart Hester says they're moving forward with the $75 million already allocated for the project. Board Chairman Benny Magnus wants a subtle change in some wording. He wants discussions to call for a new prison building rather than a specific location.
We've already put an architect in charge of doing the Calico Rock, then it got pulled. And so that's why I'm wondering if we just should say architect for a new prison in case something was to ever happen. We don't have to come back through this process.
Lawmakers set aside almost $400 million in 2023 and tried to prepare to spend up to $850 million after new cost estimates came back. 5 attempts at that money this year failed in the Senate. It's now been 2 weeks since several rounds of severe storms and heavy rains hit Arkansas. While flooding in many areas has receded, there are still some dealing with the high waters and the damage left behind by the storms. Our team takes a look at what's still causing problems for Arkansans.
There's a fence line over here. That's my back fence. You couldn't even see the top of the fence. The water was so high.
For Gary Driscoll and his wife, Amy Beth, what happened on Saturday, April 5th was totally unexpected. They'd had water get up to their back fence before, but never past it or totally over it.
We didn't ever expect it to come inside.
But despite the fact that they set up sandbags in their backyard, around 8 a.m., the water had made it to the stairs and begun to flood their basement.
We had probably maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to just grab pictures, boxes of mementos, keepsakes, any small appliances, books, whatever we could grab and bring them upstairs in basically a frantic flurry.
But the basement itself was heavily impacted. The carpet, drywall, washer and dryer, and several other items will all need to be replaced.
The heater, that's got to be replaced, but the hot water heater as well has to be replaced. So currently we have no heat, no AC, and no hot water.
Making matters worse, the fact that many of these costs will be coming out of their own pocket. Their homeowner's insurance doesn't apply to floods, and their flood insurance will only help with some of the damage.
I recommend anybody that's in a flood area that has flood insurance to check their policy very closely to make sure contents are included on their flood policy, because we did not have that special clause in there. So our insurance is only covering structural stuff to the house.
They have gotten support from friends and neighbors and have been able to start a GoFundMe. And now the Driscolls want to make sure others don't go through their same situation.
People need to really respect that flooding is a very dangerous thing.
This lake was built for fishing and hunting. It is not a flood control lake. It was never built for that.
But days and days of heavy rain earlier this month turned Lake Conway back into a lake.
It's something, a challenge that we're always going to face.
Levels rose nearly 8 feet 2 weeks ago, according to marine biologist Nick Feltz with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission.
The silver lining is that we did have the lake 6-7 foot down. If we had the lake at normal pool, it would have been very challenging to not flood homes with the type of rain event that we had.
Game and Fish drained water from the lake last year, but marine biologists say the refilled lake surprisingly doesn't detour the renovation efforts.
In the initial, planning stages of the renovation project, this was all incorporated, knowing that we would get these pretty severe winter and spring rains. In general, in the winter and spring, an inch of rain is a foot to the lake, so it's no surprise.
In fact, the goal was never to empty the entire lake. Biologists say the lake's more than 75-year history makes that almost impossible.
It was never conceivable to have the goal be to dry the lake out entirely. Really, the best we can hope for, which still adequately achieves what we're trying to do. We can get the lake about 10 foot down, which takes it from 6,000 acres to just a couple hundred.
Phelps says they expect the level to drop by a foot or more each week just based on the weather. As for the renovation, they are still on track to renovate both lanes, replace the current dam, and habitat enhancements throughout the area. Well, a new driver's license rules are about to kick in, but are you ready for it? Our Verified team looks into what you really need to get your real ID. A law passed way back in 2005 is finally taking effect next month. We are talking about the requirements for all Americans to get a real ID in order to board a flight or enter some federal buildings. Karen Fuller verifies what you need to know before the deadline arrives.
Websites and commercials showing a Real ID compliant driver's license are out to let Americans know about the new Real ID requirement with a deadline of May 7th. THV11 viewers have questions about what it all means, so we verify some common myths and clarify what's really real. Our sources are the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration and the Department of Homeland Security. Congress passed the Real ID Act in 2005. The idea that an ID is real means the person has presented documentation confirming their identity for the purposes of boarding a commercial aircraft or accessing certain federal buildings. Real IDs have a star on the upper right corner. But as with many changes, many myths are circulating. Myth number 1, you cannot travel without a Real ID after May 7th. False. While a Real ID simplifies travel, you can still use a valid U.S. passport or other federally accepted identification to board domestic flights or enter a government office. Myth 2, it's complicated and expensive. Wrong. Upgrading your existing Arkansas driver's license to a Real ID costs just $10 if it's not time for a renewal. If it is, you pay the same $40 fee as a standard license. And you'll need a birth certificate or passport, proof of a social security number, and 2 documents showing Arkansas residency like a utility bill. Myth 3 claims you're no longer able to get a Real ID after May 7th. We can verify this is also false. You can still apply after the deadline, but until you have a Real ID, you'll have to show extra identification where required. According to DHS, all 50 states began issuing Real IDs by 2020, but Arkansas had been issuing them since 2016, so it's possible you may already have one. You can apply for a Real ID at any Arkansas Revenue office. I'm Karen Fuller, inviting you to join us for Wake Up Central tomorrow from 4:30 to 7.
For the first time ever in Arkansas, we will soon hear "Welcome to Buc-ee's." The progress from Ben at this week's groundbreaking celebration still ahead. But first, it's time to eat it up.
Get to green so you can get to greens. That's my financial advice for you all out there. This week on Eat It Up, we are in downtown Conway, right here on Oak Street at R&M Southern Eatery. This place is brand new, y'all, and I gotta say, Conway, you are one lucky town. This spot is combining Southern food with incredible Cajun food and cuisine that is gonna make your mouth water. Y'all, they have pasta egg rolls. Yes, that is a real thing. So what do you say? Let's eat it up!
So I'm a computer programmer for Children's Hospital. So at Children's Hospital, I love it there. I was just kind of wanting to do something a little bit different outside of IT, you know. And so I remember, well, I'm gonna try a restaurant. I need a really good chef. I need somebody who I know is gonna give good quality food, and there's only one person I could think of. And so I sent her an inbox message, and I was like, hey.
When he told me about his restaurant idea, I was like, well, I mean, let's get in here and do some Southern food. Let's do some Cajun food. Let's do some Creole food. Let's give the people what they want, right?
It took us probably about
2 months.
2 months. We didn't hire no general contractors. This was us and Home Depot runs.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we painted and everything.
I think that we're the only one that has pasta egg rolls. So that black and Alfredo that we were just talking about, there's a signature dish. So we wrap it up in the egg rolls, fry it, serve it with a side of Alfredo sauce, which is like,
I don't know what matrix. I don't know what matrix of the realm she dug this one from.
I'm really big on quality. So one of the things I wanted to make sure is that we cooked everything from scratch. That's the Alfredo sauce, that's the greens, that's the black eyed peas. We're back there for hours cooking just so that you guys can enjoy.
Only Chef Marianne. Pasta egg rolls. Come on. Saves you all the work. Saves you all the work. Don't have to mess with the bread, don't have to mess with the pasta. It's all right there for you. Yams in the spring, yams year round. Brown sugar like that. You guys ready for this chicken? I'm fired up. And these are tenders too. Quarter part, yeah. And that sauce on there too. Look at the size of this too. That's like part of a tender. You're getting little small tenders? No. You're getting the biggest tender you can find. So how are y'all ready for a little chicken and waffle? Let's be healthy now, a little strawberry too. I'm biased, I know, I'm Southern, I'm born and raised here. We got the best food in the country. We do, I'm sorry. The South just takes it.
After months of rumors, announcements, and weather delays, work on Arkansas's first Buc-ee's is now underway. It's a development that has been in Saline County and across the state excited. THV 11 attended the week's groundbreaking ceremony and learned this is just the beginning for the area.
So I was just overwhelmed by the turnout. I mean, it was huge. There were hundreds and hundreds of people here.
They say everything's bigger in Texas, but for Buc-ee's president Beaver Applin, whose company is based in the Lone Star State, it's Arkansas that has him excited for the future.
Interstate 30 out of Little Rock, I think, will be ideal. The location was beautiful. Benton had the hiring base. We need 200, 250 plus employees. So we needed a hiring base.
They also found a supportive community ready for the growth that the convenience store mega chain is known to bring. Benton Mayor Tom Farmer says he's already talked to people interested in putting their businesses by the Buc-ee's.
Ever since the Buc-ee's was announced, we seem to have an unbelievable amount of people interested in coming to this county.
Nobody knows that better than County Judge Matt Brumley, who told me that part of this project has been making sure they're ready for the growth. He says the weather we had at the start of April was a great test run to make sure the site can withstand heavy rains and flooding.
This site location held up, and the integrity was held within that site location, and that's exciting. It was a great test run to kind of put to rest some of the people's concerns in this community.
Farmer says they've also worked with RDOT to make sure this doesn't impact traffic on I-30, something people living in the area will be happy to hear. Now, the only thing that's left to do is get to work.
We realize that it's going to be a draw for our city. That's why we're so excited about it.
Buc-ee's hopes to open its doors in Benton in September of 2026, so mark your calendars. Well, that's it for the weekend wrap-up. We'll see you next week.